sea breezes may be refreshing, Professor Ivanov, but only the northern mountain wind can cool this hot head. He sighs, looking down at his empty hands. He places them on the desk in resignation.
All right.
You have ambition. That's good. If I had a goal as clear as yours in my 20s, I wouldn't have listened to a word anyone said either. And now I'm much too old to pursue any ambitions.
Off you go, Yekaterina. You're still young and free.
Okay, stage 5. The researcher in snow. It's an ordinary morning in Lesnaya Forest, located in the coldest part of Yakutsk. A branch from a nearby tree breaks under the weight of the snow, sending a cascade of glistening flakes to the ground. A snowy owl turns its head, its large round eyes fixed on the figures in the snow.
Sophia? Shh. You found them.
The number of ovinics in the area has reached the minimum viable population size you calculated. That was just a rough calculation. We didn't have enough data about them, so I used the data of a similar species. We'll need more information to run a more accurate calculation. By the way, it's been a few days, so I don't remember the voice I had given to Windsong. So it's going to be different again, sorry. It's already October. It's minus 30 degrees right now. Sophia blinks, her eyelashes coated with white frost. Even if you can make a fire through arcane skills to keep us warm, all the roads are still blocked. As she speaks, her eyes are fixed on the ovinics playing in the snow. I think they'll survive until May. How long have we been here? 3 months.
Thanks to your help, the project is progressing much faster than expected.
And in that time we've located their nests, investigated the surroundings, and had a model established. Thanks to your help, the project is progressing much faster than expected. Startled by the sound, numerous birds take flight, and the ovinics scramble back to their cave.
Why?
Who's sawing the wood in this weather? The local sawmill, of course. Oh. Having suddenly thought of a new idea, Windsong starts scribbling on her map. The forest falls into silence again. But the silence comes too suddenly. They are immediately alert. Not far from them, behind a pile of snow-covered branches, the head of a white wolf emerges.
Sophia?
Look. Stay low. The white wolf leaps over the woodpile. It is clearly starving. Each rib is visible beneath its fur. It sniffs at the cave's opening, its tail gently brushing the ground. It's looking for food. It won't fit through the burrow's entrance. They watch the white wolf in the distance, neither one daring to move. The wolf continues to pace around the cave. It has caught the scent of the ovinics within. At its command, more wolves emerge through the snow. They gather before the cave, and the white wolf starts digging. The other wolves patrol the area, apparently looking for any other entrances to the burrow. Don't. She pushes Windsong back down. The white wolf has already made a hole the size of its upper body.
No.
Once again, she places her hand on Windsong's shoulder. The wolves will get them. A sudden commotion interrupts their hushed argument, and Ovinik dashes out of the burrow and springs onto the white wolf. The white wolf howls in rage. It dives to avoid the hit and bites the Ovinik on the shoulder. The two roll over in the snow. More wolves circle around, pushing and nipping at the Ovinik. Soon enough, it is dripping with blood. We can't just stay back and watch this happen. Before Sophia can react, Windsong jumps up and charges toward the wolf pack. I can't read Russian, so... It's unfortunate they didn't voice this part. You're not helping, you know. Sophia has also rushed over. She walks straight past Windsong, kneels before the wounded Ovinik, and checks on its injuries. I didn't harm any of the wolves. The worried look on Sophia's face makes her a little uneasy. We should head back. we really shouldn't leave any human scent here. They follow the gentle coo into the burrow. A fluffy head pops out from the hole dug by the white wolf. Is that a cub? Enraptured, Windsong turns to Sophia only to find tears in her eyes. Stop here. She catches Windsong's coat, stopping her from moving any further.
No.
We can't go any closer. We mustn't cross the line. Frightened by her gaze, the cub quickly dives back in the burrow and vanishes from his sight. Shall we go?
Mm-hmm.
She nods, casting one last glance at the burrow. Let's go home. The cabin is warm and quiet. Only the cracking of the fire and the sound of Windsong scribbling fill the air. There is also the occasional sound of Sophia flipping through papers.
Sophia?
Do we have any bear grease left? My fingers are horribly itchy. Still caught up in the excitement of learning about the cub, she draws a tiny ovenik on the map right next to where they found it. Sophia puts down the papers and fetches her a jar of wet salve. Don't you arcanists have some kind of magic ointment? You know, ones that heal frostbite and such within seconds? Probably, but I don't know much about them, to be honest. Sometimes human medicines are more effective. Can't ley lines make frostbite disappear? No, I can't change the fact. Then you really shouldn't have taken your gloves off out there. She takes some grease from the jar and starts slathering it to the back of Windsong's frostbitten hands. Still trying to master the art of sketching with my gloves on. And let's face it, if we hadn't written down all the information on the spot, we'd still be clueless about their migration patterns. I just had a childhood memory thrown at me with what you said about the gloves. There isn't much snow where I live, like, you have to go to the mountains to see it. And I remember going one time, and I had a color book with me, and obviously some colors. And because it was cold, I had my gloves on and trying to draw with them, and it was super annoying. So I get what she means. I imagine that if you're writing letters, it's even worse because you have to be more precise and when you're coloring within lines. She pushes the sketch over to Sophia. Here, this is the latest illustration depicting the ley lines of this group of ovinics. She takes out another piece of paper. And this is the graph we drew 3 months ago. As you can see, the population significantly increased, and some of them have started breeding. We've made pretty significant progress in maintaining the sanctuary, but there's still a lot to be done. She points at the map but quickly pulls back her finger, realizing there is still grease on it. A spot over there, yes, that's the lumber yard. It used to be part of the conservation area, but apparently not anymore. How long has the sawmill been there? Sophia puts the newspaper down on the table. This newspaper's from last week. Where's the latest one?
Comrade Yekaterina.
You can't be serious, Comrade Ekaterina. The ranger only goes to town once a week for supplies. All the newspapers we have are a week old. I've been here for months. Did you seriously not notice all this time? She looks at Windsong with a hint of confusion. You do seem to care very little about the outside world. You've barely mentioned it since we entered the forest. I was totally caught up with those ovinics, so...
They seem to be all you ever want to focus on.
Throughout this conversation, Windsong has been absent-mindedly drawing on the paper. It's already October, Sophia. How much longer do you plan to stay here? My work here isn't done yet. With the rate of human expansion in the area, it won't be long before they enroach the ovinic territory. If I leave now, I'm worried the ovinics here will be left vulnerable. I'm planning to set up a new conservation area in the spring, in a place where they and humans won't get in each other's way. And I'll have to make sure they settle in well. So that'll be about a year from now.
What about you, Yekaterina?
Windsong rests her chin in her palm, falling silent. I'll have to go back to the Institute once my paper's done. If it gets published, people will learn about the critters here, and maybe some will come lend a hand. Just like they did in Tariga. That would be just the help I need. She walks to the window and looks at the snow outside. The ranger told us we had to leave in 2 days. They're closing off the area for the winter. 3 months. I doubt much has changed back home. Following Sophia's gaze, Windsong peers out the window and scans the distant mountains. I wonder if it's already started snowing at the Institute. I give up voice-wise, I cannot do it. I hate when this happens because, you know, some people have, you know, they're more soft-spoken. Like, they have this kind of smooth voice, like Windsong has. But at the same time, she has a little rasp on the back of her voice when she talks. And I have a natural little rasp in the back of my voice as well. But I can't do it with a soft voice, like together. Soft voice and rasp. It's either my normal tone that has the little rasp in the back, or soft voice and no rasp. So I'm like, how does this voice actress do it, like having both? But I guess, yeah, each person has their own voice, so it makes sense. But it's hard. When a person's voice is not very out there distinct, it's really hard to copy it if you're not a professional. In which case, I'm not. So yeah, I'm trying to do voices, by the way, if you're new here, I'm doing voices for the fun of it. I'm trying to give you some sort of storytelling experience or whatnot, but I don't always make it, you know? Like, I know for sure I did a good job in Oliver's story, but after that everything has been a mess because usually stories are very long in this game. So if I stop today and I come back 2 days later, I don't remember what my voice tone was, you know? But anyway, let's move on. Stage 6, after the bubble bursts. Watch out! Make way, please! What? Windsong stands frozen in the entryway. She cannot fathom what she's seeing. With solemn looks on their faces, the police officers before her are carrying equipment out of the building and loading them, one after another, onto their truck. What's going on? Comrade Yelena? Comrade Alexei? What's happening here?
Why?
Are the police confiscating your equipment? And why does everyone look so sullen? You're back, Katerina. How are your little critters? Looking wary, Yelena forces a smile. Couldn't be better. The paper's finished and I've sent it to the editors. Where is everyone? Yelena and Alexei exchange a glance. Haven't you heard?
The study of ley lines
Is
no
no more.
more.
Oh, sorry, I thought she was going to stop there. So yeah, this is the fall of their institute. No more? Alexei sullenly hands her a journal. National Nature Studies Windsong submitted a paper to them not long ago.
Hmm?
What am I looking for exactly? What happened to this page? As she flips through the journal, she finds 2 pages stuck together by red paint. All she can make out are the features of a familiar face on the unglued edge of the page. Tristan Lisov?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, give me a minute. There should be a copy or 2 that they missed. Corruption, bullying, fraud. He's guilty of all of them. Oh! Okay, so it wasn't that the rest of, scientific community considered that ley line studies were insignificant per se. It was that it was instigated, it was provoked by the founders, quote-unquote founders' misdoings. Yelena shrugs helplessly. Windsong takes the other copy from Alexei. In an abuse of his authority, Lisov manipulated open bidding, misappropriated funds from research projects, and gained millions of rubles in personal profit. His reputation was built on intimidation and coercion rather than academic merit. Through manipulating experiments and tampering with the results, he secured various awards for himself. But why would this affect the entire institute? When the story came out, every project related to ley lines was put on hold and subjected to investigation. The institute is currently in a state of suspension. Have you heard from the editors? No publisher will accept any journal articles on ley lines now. All the editors and reviewers who ever published a paper on ley lines are also under investigation. You'll probably hear more about them in the coming days. Criticisms are all over the news. People are arguing against and even condemning the study of ley lines. What about the ocean project? The Bureau of Geology has taken over it. What about Professor Ivanov and his research? He's also been taken away for investigation. There was a giant complaint against him for some researchers here. I'm sure his investors weren't too happy about it. Yelena and I are leaving too. There is no point in wasting more time here. Ekaterina, I suggest you do the same and find something better to do. You see those old fogies over there? He points to the corner of the room. A few researchers are in quiet discussion, each with a serious look on the face. They're staying. I guess they just can't accept the reality of the situation. You don't want to end up like them, do you? A phone rings. One of the researchers in the corner rushes over and picks it up, but disappointment quickly falls upon his face. Yekaterina? Is Yekaterina back? Windsong strides over to him, a mix of excitement and confusion swelling in her chest. She hears a gentle voice coming from the other end of the call. Hello? Is this Comrade Yekaterina?
Yes.
Who's this? Comrade Yekaterina, this is a call from the National Nature Studies. Thank you for submitting your work to us, but we regret to inform you that your paper didn't meet our requirements for publication. Windsong looks at Yelena and Alexei, who seem to already know what the call is about. They both shrug.
Why?
Why is that? I wasn't aware there were any new requirements. Firstly, we're unable to verify the accuracy of the data. Secondly, we're currently discussing whether we will continue to publish essays related to the study of ley lines. In the meantime, you may approach other publishers for consideration. You'll hear more from us once the decision is finalized. We wish you all the best. Goodbye. Before she can answer, the lady hangs up. Windsong slowly drops her receiver away from her ear, but she doesn't put it down. She's too lost in thought. Unable to verify the data? Considering other publishers? Academic circles no longer acknowledge the study of ley lines, and ley hunters are no longer considered to be scientists, only arcanists. They said that it's extremely shallow, even as an arcane subject. They said it amounts to nothing more than some colorful lines and fails to offer a substantial interpretation of any phenomenon. But who would claim the subject to be the only answer to all the mysteries of the world? The lay hunter walks back to his corner. Yelena comes over and gives Windsong a gentle pat on the shoulder. She takes the receiver out of her hand and gently turns it to the phone. Windsong just stands there, a blank expression on her face.
Why?
How did we end up like this? Many things had to be fixed at the time, and even more needed to be closed. I had to stay at the institute for a while. Some colleagues were held by the authorities for academic misconduct and subjected to punishment and re-education. Some left because there were no longer enough funds to support the day-to-day lives. That included Yelena and Alexei. Yelena found a new job as a typist, while Alexei returned to his hometown and worked in his father's factory. They both expressed regret at having ever studied ley lines. Outside the institute, ley hunters are seen as cult members or, even worse, frauds. They really can't wait, can they, to load us into a cannon and blast us into obscurity. Without any prior notice, on an otherwise ordinary Monday, the property lease of the institute expired. It wasn't until Windsong passed the blockade and walked to the door of the institute that she saw the eviction notice. Well, Looks like the director's wallet is finally exempting his mind. In the past few weeks, she has lived a life much like everyone else at the Institute, waiting for letters, writing replies, anticipating calls, and submitting evidence to validate her research. But today is a little different. Please, hold on a second. Yes, is there anything else you need? We're planning to move. Please write me back at the new address. I'll make sure to include it in the letter. I will. Have a good day. Windsong puts the phone down. For a moment, she wonders if she had even just conversed with a real person. The words spoken were calm and polite, but also cruel and cold. Is there anything else you need to pack, Yekaterina? Not really, Director. Give me a break. You know I didn't become the director by choice. I'd rather sit behind bars and deal with administrative work. But you do deserve the title, sir. It's more of a burden than anything. Ivanov, you fool. Maybe I should just hand in my resignation and let you take the reins. I'll be the youngest ever director of the Ley Lines Institute. A promising young woman. Whoa, no. Let's not get too crazy. She waves her hands in protest. A few people come down the stairs and pass by them. They all wear a gloomy expression. Come, hop on my bike. I'll give you a lift to the new office. It's quite a walk from here. They walk to the exit together. The notice board catches Windsong's eye as they pass it. Give me a second. She approaches the notice board and reaches out a hand. Why? You want to take it with you?
Yes.
We haven't got the new bulletins here for a very long time.
Look at these. They seem a lot more sensational than I remember. It's almost comical. Windsong gently runs her fingers across the board. The paint is starting to peel, exposing the moldy black wood beneath it. I never noticed how worn this thing was. Isn't it funny how things seem to decay faster when they're left unnoticed? I read about it in a book of Chinese philosophy. There's a little trick that time plays on us. Windsong grabs both edges of the bulletin board and looks at old Nicolas.
No.
Don't look at me. My back is even more fragile than my ego. Are you really going to just leave it here? Look, your old project's still on it. She points at the old announcements. Everything still feels so vivid in their minds, as it happened just yesterday. But to old Nicolas, they are now a painful memory. It may have been a project to you or me, but to Lysov it was just another way to line his pockets. Nevertheless, he bends down and lifts the other end of it. It isn't easy to carry a big wooden board down the icy street, but slipping and sliding, they finally make it to the office. This place doesn't look very new to me. She looks around the office as she drags the board inside. The board won't even fit in here. We'll have to move the table to the side to close the door. Plop. Where's that water dripping from? The shabby office is filled with aging furniture, and there is mold growing along the wall. Clearly, water is dripping from somewhere. This is the best place we can afford now. It'll feel like home soon enough. Oops, I missed. What did he say? Ah, her name, Yekaterina. Windsong leans her head back, trying to figure out where the leak is coming from. This leak be included in our water bill? I don't think so. Then that's good enough for me. She rolls her neck, sits down on the desk, and looks for the telephone. Just 3 steps from my seat. Good. The telephone's sitting on the filing cabinet, discovered with a thick layer of dust. Windsong doubts if it still works. Well, can't ask for too much right now. She wipes the dust off the desktop and turns on the incandescent. Director, could we have a word with you, please? I'm trying to read, sir. And turns on the incandescent lamp sitting on it. There. With a gentle knock on the door, 2 researchers pop their heads in. Old Nicolas leaves the room, but returns quickly.
They left.
Like everyone else. Yeah, I could hear you from here. I can't read today. Yeah, I could hear you from here. The farewells are much calmer than she had anticipated. She opens the notebook, squinting from the bright lamp light reflected off the pages. That corner over there is one wet day away from being a mold farm. It won't be long before mushrooms start growing in her lungs. Could you be a little more professional, Comrade Ekaterina? The fungi will only give you pneumonia, not lung mushrooms. Windsong lets out a long sigh. Do you think there's still hope for us, Comrade Nicola? His pen stops at this question. Comrade Nicola? Are you still working on that Yakutsk paper?
Yes.
It's been going back and forth between me and the editors for a while now. First they questioned my data, so I submitted my original report, and they questioned my methods. So I sent them all I have. The new data, the experiment notes, everything. And they still have doubts about it. I had to request a peer review, but everyone who used to study ley lines is gone. In the end, they just told me they would no longer consider any submissions from the study of ley lines. She leans back in the creaking chair, rubbing her eyes with the back of her hands. I just need one chance, one publisher, to have faith in me. That'll dispel all the fear and suspicion. But none of them are willing to give me a shot. All this effort, will I ever see any of my papers get published again? Will people come back to study ley lines? You already know the answer, Ekaterina. You just don't want to admit it. How could I possibly admit such a thing? Don't you refuse to give up too, old Nick? After all, we're the only two left.
What did you just call me?
Director. Oh, come on. They both try to keep a cheerful atmosphere, but like the mold, their gloom seems to have permeated every corner of the room. I don't know, Ekaterina. Perhaps they'll accept your paper next time, or the time after that. Perhaps you'll find yourself the only one left in this room. Windsong pulls her hands away from her eyes, her vision blurry from... As she sees the room again, old Nick is nowhere to be found. Her vision blurry from all the rubbing. An icy wind slithers into the room. Through the gap beneath the door, she sees a shadow standing on the other side. I've told you hundreds of times that you need a new light, old Nick. She sets down the pen and relaxes her shoulders.
This drafty old dump. It's always so cold in here.
He never came back to the office, nor did he call, so I never have a chance to tell him that I received 2 letters addressed to him. Both, as surprisingly, were rejection letters. I'm not sure I would have had the courage to tell him if he ever had shown up, because if I had, he might never have come back again. Regardless, he never came back in the first place. Dude, I can't imagine what this would be like. Because, fighting for something with a team, okay, and most of the team eventually dropping it because this doesn't succeed is something that is frequent in society. Many people take up projects together and just give up when they don't work. But in this situation, think about it. Her whole world disappeared and she suddenly became the only one in the world interested in this. We're talking about utter loneliness. Because, if your project fails, or if the people you work with leave the project, sure, you're going to be alone, but maybe you can look for other people to join you, or make another project that is similar to that. Let's say you're taking a different direction to your initial project because you can't find other people to join you, okay? But in her case, there is no other direction she can take. The entire subject she's been studying is gone. There's no side alley, there's no side option. She has to change her entire subject. She has to find another job, deal with another research. It's so... I don't know if the word alienating is correct in this situation. They force you out of everything you've ever worked for, and you can even start over in something similar. It has to be completely different because the whole thing that you've been passionate about is considered a fraud by so many people. This story in general makes me even happier to know that she found a place for her work to flourish, if you like. And I feel so glad she also met people like the people of Rayashki, and that even though Rayashki is gone, that she still has Villa and the kids to back her up and tell her, you know, keep doing it, we believe in you, and we don't think your research is fake or that the foundings you have are fake. However, we still have to deal with the fact that right now nobody's going to fund her researches because, you know, the main point of her hopes when it came to lectures and starting new studies or whatnot was the fact that Rayashki was very much willing to finance this stuff for her. Now that Rayashki is gone, yeah, sure, she has people who believe in her, and she also has proof about the stuff she was studying that ley lines were right, but she doesn't really have the funding anymore. Like the small chance she had to an actual funding is gone. And also, I realized just now that since Rayashki is gone, she probably has no proof anymore. Right? I mean, if Rayashki is gone, so is the cave that they opened. So is every creature, every critter that was down there to prove that what she said about ley lines was true. Like, the only witness left for her right now is Villa. Because the kids can tell, you know, this is what we did before our town was lost. But they cannot back it up very well because they're children, you know? They cannot be good witnesses for her if anyone is to challenge her and question her results again, her foundings. Villa is the only one who can attest to everything that went down in Rayashki and say that Windsong is not a fraud and that her research is actually valuable and we should be paying more attention to the ley lines from now on. But I don't know, I hope that it's not that of we're going back to zero situation for her, because she was very much at an institute when Villa was in St. Pablo's, right? She was somewhere sharing her research and the results. I forget now the name of the institute she was at, but she came back from that to the foundation to speak with Villa. So I'm hoping they now take her seriously and that it's not like the Rayashki situation never happened. Because the foundation does know what happens with a storm, does know how reversing works, so they cannot deny her necessarily as much as other institutes and foundations would, because they do know that thing was there, and the only survivors claim that her words, Windsong's words, were true. Anyway, let's go to stage 7, the Night Keeper. I'd lost count of the number of rejection letters I'd received. I'd long since run out of money and had been sleeping in the office for some time. That was my last day at the Institute. It's hard to say that the final straw was. Maybe it was my last coin dropping down through the sewer grate on the ink freezing because I added too much water to it. Or maybe because there wasn't a publisher left that I hadn't tried to contact. Regardless, there came a time when I decided that if I got one more rejection letter, I'd leave that place for good. I waited and waited. You know, silence is its own message. Windsong leans her elbows on the table. The room still smells of mold and damp. She gets to her feet. There's really nothing better to do anyway. She paces around the room, and as she passes the notice board, a wave of worry washes over her. What is she going to do with it? Is Ekaterina here? I have a letter for her. The mailman's voice rings from outside the door. Windsong's heart sinks. She doesn't move, reluctant to see the contents of the letter. It is slid through the gap into the door. She picks it up and opens it, just as she has done hundreds of times before. Thank you for submitting. We regret to inform you. Best regards. No need to read the rest. She examines the ink. It's clear it comes from a high-quality printing machine. She already has a huge pile of letters of the same quality. This place is nothing but a ghost town, a shadow of a great era. A sudden rage boils up in her chest. She smashes the letter onto the board. So this is it? She strides back to her table and whips out the rest of the letters. This is where he dies. She slams another. The 21st century belongs to the study of the ley lines. Come out and say to my face, you traitor. The boasting about ley lines and quantum physics, hot springs, and the Great Ocean Project. The rejection letters now cover the entire board, completely hiding the bulletins announcing those once glorious projects. You should be the one to swallow this bitter pill. This rejection letters should have been yours, not mine. But it is her name that is written on every letter. Exhausted, she collapses to the floor.
Not mine.
Tears well in her eyes and fall on the paper in her hand. All us researchers, all the people dedicated to the study of ley lines, put so much time and effort into our work. Now we're all forced to either move on or starve to death. She tightly grips the letters in her fist, along with two addressed to old Nicolas. If we hadn't had the people who were willing to attend social events and academic meetings, we never would have gained respect in academia. But now they're all in jail, and our reputation is utterly ruined. She looks around at the dilapidated office. It's nothing like those once bustling and prosperous days. We're certainly not the only discipline controlled by bullies and scholars undeserving of their status. So why were we the only discipline to be brought down by this? Because it's too cruel to say it. Neither the people who bury themselves in research nor the people who popularize it can save it. She sits on the floor, her palms still throbbing from being slammed against the bulletin board. Then how am I going to turn the tide? For a long time, she just sits there paying no attention to the mold on the floor or the raptured floorboards. She hates to just leave, but what else can she do? She looks up at the notice board that is now towering over her.
Let the study of ley lines end here, in this cold pit, to die with my career.
She stares at it until her eyes are completely dry, unable to shed any more tears. I can't do this anymore. As the light in the room dims, she drifts into sleep.
Hmm?
She quickly scrambles to her feet. She isn't dreaming, it's the telephone ringing. She wipes her face on his sleeves and picks up the phone.
Hello, is that Miss Ekaterina?
It's me.
Who's calling? Is that the editor? She holds the phone tight against her ear, not wanting to miss a single word.
No, this is Sophia.
Ah,
Sophia?
her memories of Yakutsk come rushing back. Yes, it's me. Now that the weather is warming up in Yakutsk, would you like to come back and continue your research? Research? She looks around the office. The mold has crept its way to the center of the ceiling. Have you heard what happened here? She asked the same question that Yelena and Alexei asked her on that fateful day. A little bit here and there. I've also heard you had a tough time getting your paper published. I'm in a bit of a jam here. It's too much work for one person. Would you like to come and lend a hand? But the study of ley lines has been...
Whatever happened doesn't matter now.
After several moments of painful internal struggle, Windsong speaks again. Your research might be disregarded if we found out you're working with a ley hunter. It's still better than stopping altogether. A critter's life's at stake. I'm not sure about this.
Comrade Ekaterina.
You can figure the rest out when you're here, Comrade Ekaterina. Aren't you worried about what people might say?
They've got nothing to do with our study, Comrade Ekaterina. You should focus on a more compelling subject.
So while the subject is different, she still has to use ley lines to help her. Sophia's determined tone surprises her.
Sophia?
You... She feels a bit of sorrow in her throat. Aww. She holds the receiver tightly in her hands as if she's holding her dear friend. For a moment, a genuine fear grips her. What if all this is just a dream? Tears well in her eyes again. They drop on the desktop and glisten like the morning frost.
You are right. We should meet in Yakutsk.
Her fingers ache from the clenching, but she's determined not to let go. Yakutsk. I can't wait to go back. I have to pull the study of ley lines out of this cold grave. I won't let it die like this. Once again, she looks at the notice board. Her heart feels lighter. Finally, there's a new path before her. Man, if only things worked like in stories. Right? How much would I have loved to have this random phone call within months or a year from being told I'm not allowed to study what I want? Things would have been so different, but yeah, it's been 10 years and nothing has changed for me, so I can only be happy for fictional characters to get that fixing call, if you like. So it is Sophia that kind of directed her towards critters, because it appears that critters are very closely related to ley lines, so while the study is different, she still gets the chance to use her powers and her studies to learn more about critters. So when these things that she finds out get proven, then nobody can tell her that ley lines aren't a real study, because she used them to learn more about the critters and help Sophia, I'm guessing, make that the place anyway to preservation spot for those critters with which humans and critters won't have to come in each other's way again. Yeah, that one. But anyway, yeah, let's go to the last stage, stage 8, Comrade. The hall is silent as the researchers listen intently. Windsong takes a sip of water before speaking. By now, perhaps you have your answer to my question.
When it comes to a school of thought, who do you need more? Those that get the work done, or the ones that make it popular?
A shiny metal arm sticks out from the audience. Yes, the comrade in the back. Metal hand, I'm guessing this is Lucy.
I think that...
The root of the problem is your story seems clear. Oh, it's not Lucy? Well, it's Laplace. It could be... It is Laplace, right? Well, researchers can be robots. If Lucy is one, there's probably more. Although Lucy was made to lead, I'm guessing, the researchers, not be a researcher herself, but...
Because...
The decline of the study of ley lines was caused by two who exploited it for personal gain.
So...
The people you need more are those who truly care about the subject. The answer is quickly refuted.
But
the study of ley lines always lacked a proper barrier to entry. The composition of researchers was quite diverse and rather loosely defined.
What if...
Had there been no one to actively publicize it, those people who worked to build its respectability, hardly anyone would have taken it seriously in the first place. Those people...
I heard that.
It was Lisev alone who made the subject famous. I heard he was even invited to teach in some other countries. More and more people joined the discussion. Windsong has to raise a hand to return order to the room. Thank you. Thank you all. I understand where each of you is coming from, but my answer differs slightly from yours. Before the session started, a pair of comrades came up to me and asked 2 questions. Why are you still working on the ley lines, and what made you stay? What is the study of ley lines, exactly? Is it a science or an arcane subject? She types the words science and arcanum on the screen. Today, most of it has been buried in the sand. People can only conjure a vague image of it through stories or records. So, is it a science?
Sadly, there is no doubt it's under the category of arcanum.
To many people, ley lines are not even an objective phenomenon, nor are they consistently verifiable. Many theories regarding ley lines can even be cross-examined using scientific methods. She shakes her head ruefully.
Yet its arcane nature is not a sin, or the reason for its decline.
No, it was undermined by the high hopes that people held for it. They wanted it to be the ultimate solution, the answer to all the questions. It was doomed to disappoint them. It had its heyday. It even flourished. Many believed it to be a path to our next great advancement, until the dream was shattered by the cold reality. It's an arcane subject with a very narrow application. It could never stand on its own two legs as a specialized field of study. People abandoned it because it didn't offer the solution they sought.
It had drawn too much attention it didn't deserve in academia.
She sees a few nodding heads in the audience.
But I think every researcher, no matter their field, is an explorer, wandering wherever the truth may lie.
We could go in the wrong direction, get lost in the wild, and start all over again. This is the point we're at with the study of ley lines. This time, I hope to find a new path for it. It may be rough, muddy, and full of danger, but we must take the first step. There have been many breakthroughs and advancements in the last few years, and I sincerely congratulate you all on these achievements.
And I always hoped you would think of this path whenever a mountain stood in your way. Perhaps it could be a detour, leading you to the destination.
This is why I'm still here, as the last ley hunter. Windsong looks at the first researcher. Let's go back to my questions. When it comes to a school of thought, who do you need more? Those that get the work done, or the ones that make it popular? The truth is, I think neither of them are that important. But Sophia made me realize that the only way to keep the subject alive is to let people see it for what it truly is, to understand it and acknowledge it. Networking and connection making won't keep the subject alive, and if we only focus on writing academic papers, we'll soon find ourselves in financial trouble. For now, they're both unimportant to the study of ley lines. She pauses, giving the audience a moment to process the information.
No. What it really needs is a genius. One that can extend the path and bring our study to another level so people can see its true value.
Like Newton to physics, Einstein to relativism, Watson to biology. Maybe the genius we need is among us, in this very room. This is the other reason why I stay in this field.
I insist.
I hope that people will learn about the ley lines from the reports I've written and the projects I've participated in. I will keep walking this path, and I hope to see you all along the way.
Thank you so much.
That concludes my lecture. Thank you. She bows to her audience. At first, there are just a few scattered claps, but the applause quickly turns thunderous. Miss Windsong, please wait here. Madame Lucy will join you in a moment. Sure. The staff member puts down a bottle of water and leaves. Windsong looks around the empty office. Never thought a lecture could be so tiring. She pulls over a chair and sits by the window. At times like this, she finds herself thinking of Rayashki, the people who embraced the study of ley lines from the beginning, and the people who saw her as family. To think that a storm could take away a world, it's almost too absurd to be true. There are strange footsteps coming from the hallway. Windsong looks towards the door. Without waiting for an answer, the door is opened.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Miss Windsong.
Now that will be a difficult voice to do. Because it's soft and subtle, but it's also making pauses like a robot. As soon as she enters the room, Lucy plugs herself into the power socket.
Thank you so much.
Madame Lucy, thank you so much for inviting me here to give the lecture. The pleasure is ours. I believe you have many questions to ask, including about the storm in Rayashki. Yes, ma'am. Her face turns serious. What exactly happened to Rayashki and its people? It was not just Rayashki. The entire world has been wiped out by the storm. To put it simply, The world they lived in has been reversed to time before its existence.
Would you feel better if I put it this way, Miss Windsong?
If I made it sound like we still have a chance to undo all this?
But we hold on to some hope.
It is true that we may have found a way to stop it from happening again. We have people here using every ounce of their knowledge and every means possible to find a way to end the occurrence of the storm. That is also the purpose of Laplace. We need your knowledge,
We
Miss
need your knowledge, Miss Windsong.
We need your help to end the storm. To end the storm? Her voice carries a bitter amusement. Your heart rate and body temperature indicate that you are having an emotional reaction. Are you angry, Miss Windsong? I missed my only chance to save my friends.
No.
That was not your only chance, Miss Windsong. I'm not asking you to end it yourself. I'm only requesting a leyline report on it. More storms will come, and we need you to help us see them clearly.
We will eventually find a way out of the storm.
And when that time comes, we will find the person with the means to end it. Windsong unclenches her face.
That is why I'm inviting you to join Laplace.
We need your expertise to improve our chances of putting an end to these tragedies. Laplace will fund your project. More people will hear about ley lines, the stories behind them, and also the story of you, Miss Windsong, the last ley hunter. We cannot change the past, but we can decide the future.
The future. It is such a beautiful word in humans' eyes, and they attach to it the most wonderful fantasies.
It will not be easy to have the future of the study of ley lines resting on your shoulders. A light flickers across the slit on her face.
However, you have done an exemplary job so far, Miss Windsong.
Windsong hears the ring on the telephone, an echo in her mind. She takes a step forward and extends a hand. I accept your invitation. She smiles, looking into what she believes to be the robot's eyes.
I look forward to working with you, Comrade Lucy.
Alright, that was the Silver Knot side story of Windsong. Let's talk about it a little bit. So this story was basically filling up any gaps that perhaps the main story had left behind, or rather it gave more information on both Windsong's background and what the ley lines were all about and how it came down to not be considered an actual research subject. It was good for what it was passing information, it wasn't anything groundbreaking like the type that it's going to stick with you, but it really helps progress not only the story we experience, but also the main story we have at large. Speaking of the story at large, I am so glad Windsong's powers are going to be put into good use right now. I don't remember if I said this, but I considered Windsong's powers to be important for Vertin in the future. I think I spoke about in the main story about that, and perhaps Avgud's powers as well. If not, I'm saying it now, I did consider that her powers would be beneficial to Vertin somehow. But the writers of the game chose to put her in Laplace instead of having her in Vertin's team. And I understand this because, like I've said, I said in the main story, or in a previous video, Vertin doesn't seem to be the protagonist of this game. The protagonist of this game is the team of Arcanists going against the storm, the world at large even. More than a story-driven story, it's like a world-driven story. That every character acts based on what the world needs in the moment. We're not going after a goal of one character or the dreams of one character. We're going in watching a phenomenon affect many different people and how those people react to that, if it makes sense. There is a better way to express it, but I'm hoping it makes sense the way I say it right now. So yeah, whether Windsong was going to go with Vertin or Laplace or some other part of the Foundation, it mattered not. What mattered is that her powers are put to use against the storm. And from what it appears, since the Rayashki is no longer there, like I said, in Villa's situation, Villa will also be part of the Foundation and also fight the storm in some shape or form. And eventually the kids as well, because they too are Arcanists. They just won't play as of an important role as perhaps Avgust would, because his powers are different. He can see more things, as we saw from the Rayashki story, than other kids. So yeah, his powers are also very valuable in my opinion. So yeah, most of you know what happens next. I've seen that many fans have preferred the Chinese server so that they get more information on the story. Well, not, I don't. I'm trying to stay away from it as much as possible. But I've heard a few things around it, which I won't say in this video because some of you might not be familiar with them. But I am still very curious as to how all these people are going to use their knowledge and the strengths against the storm. And what is going on with Manus? What do Manus know after all? Were Manus responsible for the storm in the first place? Because, you know, when the game started, it gave you the impression that the Manus were looking for ways to control the storm, that it wasn't made from them, but that they seek to be able to use it in order to gain control or to create a new reality that Arcanists were on top of in some shape or form. There are so many questions about the story in general, but this one, for me, this story as a whole gave us more of a recruiting type of story. It brought in 3 new characters, which eventually were recruited in the Foundation. And for me, it was more of a setting up the ground for what's going to come next. Because the previous story we had with Cacanea and Marcus and Isolde, that one gave us a little bit of a push towards that things are going to shit. Because we saw how the Manus are moving and that they're also recruiting. But you know, the difference between Manus and Foundation is, for me at least, is that the Manus are recruiting people in a very dramatic way, whereas the Foundation does it in a more professional way, in a less commotion-driven way. It's like the Foundation collects all the people that have been hit by disaster or by the storm or whatnot. You know, like, you have nothing to do with your life anymore, but your powers are very useful. Come with me. We can use it and create a better world, blah, blah, blah. Like, every time, it's the burn cards of people that they collect. Whereas the Manus find people that, again, with powers that they want, and they, like, create the biggest commotion. And then take them to the side. Like, you see what happened with Schneider. They were trying to recruit, oh my goodness, what's her name? Druvis. They were trying to recruit Druvis in that patch, but she eventually didn't go with him. But the whole commotion they created around that time and the thing that happened with Schneider, and eventually they lost that. And then what they did with the island that they sent, she probably sent herself, Arcana, I think is her name. Anyway, she went there to strike a deal with these people as well, again created a commotion, the results of which we're probably going to see in the next chapter, I'm guessing, I'm not 100% sure. Which again, I know what happens because I was spoiled, I didn't even search for that. But yeah, that's when we will see what happened and what Arcana did, despite what she agreed with Vertin, okay? Or with the people there in the island, let's be real. And then we have the situation with Isolde, that there had to be this whole ruckus in the city with the people rebelling, with the whole speculation around the painting of her brother, and then they took her to the side. Like, every time Manus is trying to recruit, they're going to do the utmost in their power to create a ruckus and then get the person they want for their team. But it's really fun in comparison. That aside, story aside, let's take it to a little bit of the realistic parts of the story, because like I've said before, Reverse likes to do that. They play with stories that actually are very relatable to real life. It is really hard to have a passion that not many people follow, and that doesn't reflect to the world at large as much as the community you're born with. Just like Marcus, she was a kind of person that was very passionate about one thing and people didn't understand her, and that's where the foundation came in. However, Marcus was alone. Marcus's only company were ghosts, people. Windsong had an institute she belonged in. She had people around her. So loneliness came in a different way for her, and it's like watching the same concept from two different perspectives, if you like. Two different scenarios that speak of the same theme of being so passionate about something that people don't understand and feeling like you're doing something wrong, and then something comes and saves you, you know? And this is trying to teach how you shouldn't give up, because there will at some point come help or an opportunity that will change your life forever and will help you be who you are. Now, I know that in real life this happens as well, but I believe, I don't know, maybe you believe otherwise, that it is very rare. Like I said, speaking from my personal experience, I have many pitfalls in my life and nothing came to take my hand and say things are going to become better and offer me an opportunity, okay? Every time I did anything was persevering. That's all I did. I just kept pushing and pushing for things to change, and nothing ever changed. So sometimes you feel that maybe you're the only one, like this time Windsong here felt like she was the only one left and that nobody was going to help or whatnot. This is the feeling that I personally have experienced. Up to then, nobody ever came up and said, let's do that and do it. Now, I will say that I was given an offer recently that would allow me do the things I fought for in my life. It's not my dream again, but it's a start, you know? But it was just that. It was an offer. I don't know if it's ever going to become reality. Maybe by the time this video is up, it will have become a reality, maybe not, but let's say that I've been forcing this since I was 9 years old, and it's been like 20 plus years at this point. So it makes you think, like, okay, in the story, the hero will always find that helping hand, that random opportunity, that deus ex machina, I guess, situation. Can I say deus ex machina in this situation? I don't know. Where they get that one opportunity that tells them that you were right to persevere, this was actually for you. But they usually get this stuff within a year or 2 or 3, maybe 6 years max, okay? I'm talking about 10 plus years in my situation, which is why I am not the kind of person who believes things will ever change for me. But because I felt that way, the way we see in Windsong's situation and in Marcus's situation, I'm the kind of person that's going to push others to go after the dream regardless, because like I said, the fact that it didn't happen to me doesn't mean that it won't happen for you either. I like to push people, remain passionate on the dreams, and yeah, sometimes it scares me, like that these people might end up like me and never get that helping hand, that opportunity that is going to change their life. But most times I'm thinking of those rare instances that people actually made it, you know? And because I know how it's like, that feeling of being separated from that thing you are so passionate about and feeling alone and whatnot, I don't want other people to feel that way. I don't want that for them. So I keep pushing, and this is why you see me always telling you to do your best in my posts and whatnot, because I believe that it's not that impossible to make your dreams come true. It's just that I cannot see that for myself, you know? And just because I cannot see that for myself, I cannot put others down because of it. That would be projecting. But I understand what they're trying to pass here to people, to believe in your dreams and keep fighting, because there's somebody out there who's going to need your skills, your passion and all. That we have examples even in real life that made that. But at the same time, as relatable as I find it, I cannot see that positivity, that hope the game wants to leave in the end, that it's going to happen to you too, perhaps, like to inspire you, be hopeful and fight for your dreams, because we don't know what the writers of this game were doing before this game, right? We just know that they wanted to make something more retro, more meaningful, less about fancy graphics and more about the story, you know? That's what we know. So I, for one, know that the writers of this game are passionate, and I understand why they would want to pass this message to anyone playing, as well as, of course, continue the game to this direction to show the importance of community, the importance of each person has something they can use in the community and make something better and a better world that goes against discrimination, it goes against everything. Because if you really put it down to the semantics, I guess, the details, let's say the details, I'm more familiar with this word. If you put the story down to the details, you see that what are arcanists really? We're just seeing people with superpowers here. That's what we're saying, right? People who have the power of arcanum and face racism all the time. But if we take the powers aside, or put them in reality, okay? You want to put them in reality? All right. Each person out there is better at some skills than somebody else. You know how people always tell you, no matter how good you become, there will always be someone better than you out there? Okay, fine with that. You should be fine with that, but that shouldn't stop you from doing what you love regardless, just because there's always someone better than you out there. What I'm trying to say though, because I'm again turning to another conversation with all this, is that each person out there has some skills they're good at. So while we're not picking a person with very specific skills from every single country or every single community and put them into a team to save the world, we are making smaller teams in real life that are looking to achieve some goals, be it doctors, researchers, artists even. Everybody serves a purpose in their life, and we don't know it because the way societies are built and the way jobs are built, we make people forget that they're actually special. Each person has their own set of skills that perhaps those skills won't work for one team, okay? And that's okay. You will find another team that will take those skills of yours and will make you feel like you're the king of those skills. And you will say, yeah, sure, but that team could have found another person with the same skills as me. Yeah, I don't care, bruh. They could find that other person with other skills. But what matters in this moment, as we speak, is that you are that one person for that team right now, and you should be proud of it. You should be flaunting it. There's nothing wrong with being like, oh, I have these very cool skills and I'm the person responsible of this and that. Like, imagine that you're, I don't know, let's say, I'm trying to think of a company situation, but not familiar with any companies within to tell you how they work. But okay, let's say that you're in a company and one is a leader, another one is the manager of the employees, another one deals with finances, another one with communications. All right, let's imagine this. And let's imagine that each of these people is exceptionally good at everything they do, on their skill, on their job. So if the person that is in charge of communications is the one constantly bringing people to the company, whether that's customer service being good or bringing collaborations that greatly benefit the company, shouldn't that person be proud of themselves? I'm sorry. If you're doing your job well, and if you're passionate for it as well, why should you feel shit about it? But the way the world is made, you will feel shit about it. You know why? Because you won't be paid enough for what you do. You'll be putting the work out there. Some people are working so hard and they get minimum wage, and because everything in our world is counted by money and the price of everything, we forget that we're actually doing a good job. We judge ourselves and we say, oh, I make that little money, or I haven't made it as big as I've wanted in my life, so that must mean that I'm not good enough, right? No, bitch, that's what the society wants you to think. You might be a very skillful person, actually. And perhaps your company doesn't say it enough because it's your job. I'm not supposed to tell you you are this good at your job. I hired you, so that means you're good at it, right? I'm using your talent. But because people don't do that, they don't go out of the way to say, you're doing a good job, or I'm so proud to have you in my team, or this thing you did was amazing. And all we do to show that somebody's good is just pay them more or give them a promotion, a higher position. People don't actually realize how good they are in what they do. Do you know that, I don't know if many people knew that, but I learned that quite late in my life, that people are actually losing jobs for being overskilled, overqualified. In my life, I always thought that when you don't get a job, it's because they found somebody better, or that because your skills are just, too little for that particular position. But no, you can actually lose a job opportunity because you're overqualified. All right, that's how fucked up society is. That's why we are like this. But like I said, if you put this into perspective based on the real world, you will see that the arcanists portrayed here are people with different talents, which, okay, in our case, it's not superpowers, but people who are different in their own way, and they somehow help a bigger group of people to save the world. And again, in our situation, it will be smaller groups trying to sell a project, make a company succeed, make an album sell, make more art for the world. Like, each group has a different purpose instead of a more general purpose that we all come in. So yeah, if you want to take anything from this story besides obviously keep following your passions, that you shouldn't put yourself down. Because, you know, just because everybody thought that Windsong or any other lay hunter weren't really researchers, she actually helped an entire city get back on her feet and be independent financially. So what stops you from becoming something you want if you have put in the work and built some skills? Just because somebody thinks you're not good enough doesn't mean that everybody's going to think that way. Maybe you're just asking the wrong people. Maybe you're just knocking on the wrong company doors, on the wrong business doors. There's a lot of competition out there. So don't lose hope on who you are or your skills, and keep fighting for what you believe in. And the opportunities, of course. You need the networking and whatnot, because like Windsong just worked one time with this Sophia girl that wasn't even a lay hunter, and she gave her an opportunity. She was waiting for opportunities from other lay hunters and publicists. And where did the help come from? From a non-publicist, non-lay hunter. This is why I've been saying this. Anyway, yeah, enough with preaching. I'm sorry, I'm being very passionate about this, but I love how Reverse plays with both fantasy and real life, and I just wanted to mention both how I received the story based on what we have in the fantasy world and how I received it in the real world, okay? But yeah, that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell as always. I hope you have a wonderful week. Every character you pull full comes home before you know it. And yeah, I'll see you next patch, I guess. Bye-bye.